So without further ado, I'd like to invite her to take the hot seat. Please give her a warm welcome.
Hi, Sarah.
It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, and hi, everyone.
Okay.
You know what, Sarah, can I just very quickly acknowledge Datuk Johari, who is the Ketua Pengarah of
Absolutely.
Istana
Yep.
Budaya, who's here today. I know he said he didn't want to give a speech, but he wanted to just say, he just wanted to wave hello to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Johari, for having this event here today. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful venue. Shall we get right to it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Puan Sri, Tiara, you are well known for your involvement, as we've seen on TV, and as the executive producer and lead cast in Puteri Gunung Ledang. And of course, that was produced by Enfiniti Productions, your company. And just like your other title, Chief Dreammaker, you went against all odds to start Enfiniti Academy when it was time to bring this award-winning film, this film to the stage, right? And of course, you've had many more original theatre productions to follow, and what a colourful adventure it's been. But tell us, how did this journey start? I mean, what inspired this path of life?
Pretty much the same way it would have, I imagine it would have started for many of you entrepreneurs and fellow dreamers like like me. Since I was 18, when I was studying business at college, I was already very sure I wanted to be a businesswoman. So I was studying business in the day, and after college, my best friend and I, we decided, why don't we already apply straight away whatever we're learning to make it more exciting for us. So we started a $2 company then.
And what was it?
It was called Jackie Productions then, serving the advertising industry, because I started out being a TV commercial talent since I was 15.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of people in the advertising industry, and decided that since the most contacts I know is from this field, why don't I make use of these contacts whilst I know them and whilst they know me? And I decided to provide them a talent casting service, which was, at that time, there was no such service for the advertising industry. So it was a gap that I thought I found, and squeeze through that gap to introduce myself to the advertising world as an entrepreneur.
I love that. I love how you're always finding a new niche to own, and always creating something new as you go. And I think, aside from running Enfiniti Productions and of course the Academy, you've got about 2 more businesses that are about to be launched officially, right? We have Tiaras Escapes, which is a beautiful glamping site in Janda Bai. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And of course the Malaysian Cultural Village. And maybe you could share, what are some of the key learnings that you gained from being a founder and an entrepreneur? You know, you have quite a few experiences along the way. Key learnings.
You know, it's always, being an entrepreneur kind of has become a little bit of a bad habit for me. I travel a lot, I read a lot, I watch TV, I watch movies whenever I can, and my mind just can't stop kind of creating new businesses. When I look at something, I keep thinking, how would I have done that better? And so the idea for setting up Tiaras Escapes was when I visited Kasbah Tamadot in Marrakesh, Richard Branson's beautiful, beautiful resort. And I kept thinking, Malaysia has glamping. I've seen glamping in Malaysia, but they're really just canvas tents, and it looks like something you could just buy online and just set up in your garden. But I've never seen glamping taken to that level before. And I just wanted to I just said, you know what, it'll be great if Malaysia could have something like this. And I decided to go and investigate into who were the people who supplied Richard Branson with those tents. And I said, I want to take this experience to Malaysia and just kind of lift the glamping industry and provide something different.
And so I would say that's kind of like, as a front-end entrepreneur, it's keeping your eyes open, right? Being aware of the opportunities that lie ahead.
And well, for me, my mind never stops. My brain doesn't stop. Kind of, it's just like my CEO Imran and Dale, who's actually been with me for 20 years now. Kind of almost every time Tiara comes into the office with a look like that, that means we're going to be starting a new project. Guys, we're going to go into this. Guys, we're going to be doing this next. Guys, I've just experienced this and we're going to be doing this next. So, it's a bit like that lah. So I think you've always got to be hungry and be looking out for exciting new things to do. And most importantly, you've got to be excited first.
Yeah.
If you're excited by it, you'll be so passionate about trying to promote it to someone else, right?
And I think you've got a fantastic team backing you up all the way.
I've got the best people in the world working for me.
Awesome. Now, our audience today, they're from a few different industries, but I'm sure many of us are curious to know how it's like in the arts and entertainment industry from a business perspective. A lot of us are just audience that enjoy the show, but we want to know a bit more about what goes on behind. And so, just in your experience, what do you think is the most important thing for business owners to consider and prioritize in this industry, in the arts and entertainment industry? Are we looking at competition? Is digitalisation, an issue? Yeah, maybe you could share some of your thoughts.
For me, at the heart of it all is quality. For instance, like we have this world-class Istana Budaya is a world-class theatre facility, one of the top 10 best in the world. Yeah. So producers like myself and some and some of our competitors, friendly competitors, we try to think of the best content to put on stage every time for Istana Budaya, because this is our national theatre and we want all Malaysians to come and experience what it's like to watch theatre in such a classy facility. But at the heart of it all, I think it's always continuing to think of what's amazing and what, it's just trying to think of from our little corner. I always think that the performing arts industry, we're in this little corner of Malaysia where, we don't manufacture cars, we're not in politics, we're not, how else can we do something for the country from our little corner of the world? So as a producer, I'm always looking out for inspirational stories, very, very Malaysian stories that will make audiences, that will move audiences and make you think, gosh, I didn't think we were capable of achieving this kind of standards in our shows, so that's pretty much where I come from and what we try to do from our little corner of performing arts here. Me and people like Datuk Johari trying to champion things from our little corner.
It's always doing something different, always making sure there's something new for the audience to get. And setting that standard for Malaysia in the global space, right?
Because like you mentioned, we are also up against, well, digitalisation is happening all around the world in every industry. And when you don't look at it as a threat, because a lot of people keep thinking, oh, I will be replaced by a machine in 3 years, for sure. Actors are being replaced by animation, by cartoons, by Disney and Pixar. But in the same token, the digital digitalization and technology works so much for us as well. Like you've seen on backstage, we're putting up all these LED screens. That now replaces the need for us to have big, heavy stages, sets, whenever we want to take the show on the road. In the, at the push of a button, a palace becomes a football field, it becomes a stadium, becomes someone's house, becomes a forest at the push of a button. And, and we can take this anywhere in the world, pretty much. So I think it's about also embracing technology and embracing the digital age to see how this can work for us, and not keep thinking about how will I be made, how I'm going to be obsolete. But, for instance, in our world, fortunately for us, stage acting requires real actors.
Yes.
And we have in the background on LED screens maybe another 100 actors, but the live, there's still a need for live performances in the world I'm in here, thankfully.
Yeah, I like that. Every time there's a change, we embrace it. We recognize and choose to leverage on the opportunities, and that's really amazing. And are there any other specific challenges that you see this industry facing aside from that, whether in Malaysia or
Okay.
globally?
On Broadway and in the West End in London right now, some theatre producers are choosing to live stream their performances in cinemas and in places like Times Square. And traditional producers find this offensive because they say, oh, theatre must be experienced real time, live. But because we're up against YouTube, we're up against Facebook Live and Instagram Live, you're up against all this anyway. The younger generation of producers are deciding to, you know what, let's take advantage of this and maybe start working with technology to, maybe charge advertising space for
A small
for it.
fee.
Yeah, I mean, so you can still turn it in your favor. It's a threat, but at the same time, you have to turn it into an opportunity.
Very nice. Tell us a little bit about Ola Bola. I mean, I cannot talk about that. We just watched a bit of the rehearsal. I could feel the energy, and it was so electrifying.
Nice.
And I know you've got you put a lot of heart into this. Tell me why this particular story, this musical, is so close to you, so important to you.
Well, for me, at the heart of it all, again, is the story. It has not. It's been years since I watched a story and really felt, you know what? This is the Malaysia I grew up as a child with, when my friends in school were Chinese, Malay, Indian, and we used to, we would do anything for the badge of our school, right? So similarly, Harimau Malaya, then it was Chinese, Malays, Indians, all in the football team, and they would die for the country. They train, they sweat night and day for RM5 a day to play for the country. And I miss that. And I feel the country could do with a little more of that kind of spirit in us. So kind of forgetting all our differences and just look at what we can do as Malaysians for this flag that we all stand together under. So we assembled a multiracial cast, just as you saw in the movie. And it's not kind of just like a nominal thing. Our cast they're Chinese, they're Malays, they're Indians, they're Ibans, they are Kadazans, they are Eurasians. And we've been working together since Ramadan of last year. So you can, if they, I mean, it really does take that kind of determination and passion.
Commitment, right?
And commitment. They know that when we tell the story of Ola Bola, it's not just us dancing and singing and performing for money or to sell tickets. They're all responsible for telling the story of a Malaysia in 1980 we all they never knew. I miss, and their parents probably lived through that era also. And we just have that responsibility. And whenever you do something with a bigger purpose and with a higher purpose and with it just means a lot more. I instill in them that every one of you is an ambassador of unity for Malaysia. When people watch you perform, they're going to see a Malaysia that they haven't seen in many, many years. And you're going to be the one to turn people around and keep them thinking, we got to get back to this. This is how we have to be again. But more importantly, I think, is that passion that they could be sharing with other Malaysians coming to watch the show. All it takes is for you only watch 4 minutes.
10 minutes?
No,
about
4 minutes. And some of you were already going, wow, right? So imagine if you watch 2 hours of that.
Full
And
dress with lights and everything.
you will be, I promise you, by the end of Ola Bola, you're all going to be like in tears, kind of like, oh my
Bring
God,
tissues.
the lights are up, like
Yeah.
quickly, Istana Budaya, don't turn on the light yet. Because that is the effect we're going for. Every Malaysian needs to cry and think, this is the country I would die for. So that's the aim. So whenever I'm watching a run and I think, no, I'm not feeling it, that means nobody else will feel it, we run it again and again and again. And it's that discipline of doing something to perfection that I want that I want everyone else to take home with them also, the people on my team. When you do something, you do it to perfection. So I'm really anal about these kind of little
Yeah.
details. So
Yeah, and I would take that as a business insight as well,
Oh, yeah,
regardless
yeah,
of what your
yeah.
product or service is.
Yeah.
It's the attitude that comes behind it, and making sure that everyone in your team, from the top right to the bottom, they're all aligned with the vision, which is pretty much what is happening. And when that happens, the results will speak for itself, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, I'm sure people have questions, but I just have one last question for you. Let's say no one remembers anything because they're just so amazed by the rehearsal and the performance. What would your one piece of advice for SMEs or business owners in Malaysia today be?
I'd say to always aim high and to aim for the moon. Whatever you do, like when we think about doing a show, I never compare myself with any other show done in Malaysia. I told them why. How good, however good Malaysian theatre is, that is how good it's been for the last 20 years, 30 years. We have to be as good as Andrew Lloyd Webber's shows, or don't waste time. For me, do the best, or else just wait until another year when you're ready to do something good. Because there is no space for mediocrity in my book. And I think there's no place for mediocrity in anything we do. Because otherwise you'll never stand out. So if you're a race horse, you don't want to be an also ran. You want to be the champion horse. You want to be the guy that people, okay, not that I'm encouraging betting, but you want to be the one that people place their bets on and say, oh, whenever this horse won, this is the one that I want to bet on. So when Enfiniti does a show, it has to be like, oh, Enfiniti does it means it will be good. But I don't want to have a in between kind of like, this one they just put in between lah, just to fill up a calendar. So that's never what we do. When we do something, it has to be spectacular or nothing.
Excellent.